The unfortunate reality is that Tiger Woods has now failed to break par in 11 consecutive rounds in the majors. And fans all over Twitter were up in arms saying that Tiger is done and his competitive career is over. But that really weighs the question, has Tiger stuck around too long? And Mike, just to get all full bias out of the way, I will say, and I won't speak for you, but I know you agree with me, we're Tiger fans.
Sure.
Right?
No doubt.
I would love nothing more than to see Tiger win another event, launch another amazing comeback like we saw in 2019.
Yes. You, me, and millions of others.
Millions of
Yes.
us would love to see it.
Absolutely.
But, and this is a huge but, we have to get to a certain point where we're going to face some sort of reality. So weigh in the comments with your own thoughts as we work our way through this. We're going to talk about what Tiger himself said after his rounds at Valhalla. We're also going to talk about, is it a benefit? Is it a benefit for the game to Tiger to stick around, even if it's just for the first two rounds? Or is he taking up potentially a spot for someone else? You know, we just saw Tiger getting a special invite to play in the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. And the concern that I have is we're looking at Tiger's recent performance. These are places he's won before.
Yep.
You know, and it just makes me wonder if he can't compete at the places he's won before, where that is really his advantage. What are we waiting for? What are we holding out for at this point?
I think it's the excitement that keeps us going as fans, right? I mean, knowing he's in the field, watching him warm up. I like starting off the week of a Tiger event, which is very few nowadays, right? I like seeing like his practice rounds, seeing his press conferences and hearing from him, because otherwise that's the only other time you see or hear from him. And if you're a fan, if you've been a fan, if you admired what he's done after all these years, I mean, there were some great moments we've had as fans watching some of the stuff he's done up until like 2019, the Masters, all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's tough to watch, but I do like the fact of where his mind is at with his game. And I know we're going to dive into what he said about it, but it's just great to see. It's motivating to hear, at least.
Well, that's just it. I mean, there's a certain degree of wanting to watch Tiger for fandom, nostalgia, whatever it may be. But it makes me wonder, do we need to change the narrative? Right? Because the narrative continues to be, it's on repeat at this point. Every time he's playing, with inevitably a reporter will ask him the question. We'll get the same type of quote from Tiger. I wouldn't be here playing if I didn't think I could win.
Right.
And the narrative that's built off of that is don't count Tiger out. It's something we've said before. You know, Tiger has bounced back too many times to be counted out. Yeah. But one thing I will say is this is not 2019, right? This is post-car accident. It's a different animal in a lot of ways than it was when he had his comeback winning the Masters in 2019.
Yeah. And I love the fact of when he says, you know, I wouldn't be here if I don't think I can win. I think I buy it. I believe it. I believe that guy thinks he could still win because he's won so much. Now, is there a part of me who thinks like there's so much more talent out here now, it's going to be harder to win? Of course. I think he's even said it. But I still think the guy at his age and everything that's happened to him, car accident or not, when you've won that much and you are who you are, I think that feeling stays with him. I think he just thinks he can win, and it's a disappointment when he doesn't. So.
That's it. Tiger's a pure competitor. He's always going to think that. And but the thing is that you hear, and we'll talk about some quotes from some fans and people out there talking about how Tiger had indicated that he was not just going to hang around. If he didn't feel like he could be competitive, then he was going to be, you know, taking that spot out of the field.
Right.
The question I can say is there's belief and then there's reality. So right now we're not seeing in reality that Tiger can be competitive. You know, when you look at what he did just this past week at Valhalla, right? So he shot 72-77, misses the cut. Yes, he can get around a golf course. Sure. Physically can get around a golf course. The question though is, can he be competitive with the strength of field? Where we see, you know, Xander Schauffele going 21 under at Valhalla. Is there a world in which Tiger could do that? And like I said, if there was any place where I could believe that narrative would be where he has the most advantage, someplace like the Masters. He knows Augusta better than anyone else, right? And here Tiger comes in, he grinds it out, and that's the competitor in Tiger. You have to give this to him.
Yeah, no doubt.
He makes the cut to continue his streak. But where does he finish? Dead last.
Right.
After that, dead last in that. And it just makes you wonder, is he a different person now with the accident? can he no longer sustain the physicality of walking and playing 4 full rounds? Like I said, I want to get to what Tiger said in a second because it really indicates that he's got to play more.
Yeah,
But
right.
what I'm wondering is that even possible?
I don't think it's possible. That's the problem. I think he's just so limited in where and what he's going to do. Everyone's just ranting about how flat Pinehurst is, and maybe this is it. But I'll be honest. I think if Tiger shows up to Pinehurst with his game absolutely in form, I could see top 20.
But here's what I'm
like, not
saying.
even
How
win.
does one get their game in form if they're not playing week to week? Competitive golf really requires playing on a regular basis.
Yes, so that actually answers that he probably won't be informed. But even if he is, I just think the strength of field now is just much better than him and where he's at.
Well, let's dissect some of the stuff that Tiger said, and then I want to talk about what's really driving this narrative. Again, is it reality or is it delusion? And is it something that a narrative that's being driven by television broadcasts that want more eyeballs and know Tiger will follow it, reporters who want a sensational headline, or is it really kind of falsely propping it up in that it's not a reality? So here's what Tiger said. Tiger was obviously asked the questions after the PGA, talking about his game first. He said, "My game will get better in time. I need to play more. Unfortunately, I just haven't played a whole lot of tournaments and not a whole lot of tournaments on my schedule either." So that's the first thing to kind of look at, is saying, yes, he acknowledges he's got to play more.
Yes.
I don't think that this is something that you can practice your way into, finishing where he wants to finish, which is a win. Because don't forget, this is what's going to build that case I talk about later about the narrative. We're talking about Tiger winning again, not even just being competitive, right?
Winning.
Because that's the narrative that he's like, oh, he can still win, he can still win, he can still win. What I'm saying is that really a reality? Because if Tiger was to play more tournaments, what would that even look like? Right now, it's not on his schedule. I think he played 2 PGA Tour events and not even all the majors. He didn't play he didn't play in the Open Championship last year.
Right.
But he played in 2 events last year. He's got maybe 4 PGA Tour events on his schedule. So you're looking at a guy who's going to play maybe 8 events a year.
Maybe.
Is that really even enough?
It's not. You need more competitive golf. Different mindset. Yep. Absolutely.
So now we look forward, Tiger talking about the U.S. Open. So he said, hopefully everything will somehow come together in my practice sessions at home and I'll be ready for Pinehurst. So, okay.
Yeah. What?
Again, my optimistic self as a Tiger fan is going to say the same thing a lot of people are saying. You and I had the great benefit of 2 weeks ago. We got to go down and play number 2, right? It's cool seeing the grandstands going up. It's a tough course, no doubt. But again, it's a place that Tiger has won and again, course familiarity and stuff like that on the field.
Starting to not buy that anymore. They've been hyping that at Valhalla. He's won here before.
Right.
But keep
I
going.
think if there's anywhere that Tiger has that true advantage, it's the nuances of understanding what do you call it? Augusta.
Yes.
But then you could have also argued that point, Tiger knowing the old course so well. You know, those are the few places.
Sure.
But okay.
Yep.
But that said, the one thing that I can say from firsthand experience, having been there and done it, is that it is not a strenuous walk.
No.
It's about as flat as they can come. There's no hills to climb. I remember they were talking about when Tiger played at Riviera and getting up and down that first hill and what that might do to his stamina over 4 days. This is a case where
there's
nothing to worry about.
one elevated green on the back 9 that we had to walk up to, but
so
that's it.
Stamina-wise, he'll be fine. But again, practice sessions, Tiger's not really getting the actual tournament reps in between those. So again, going on for some more what Tiger said, he said, I need to clean up my rounds. Physically, yes, I'm better than I was a month ago. I still have more ways to go. Lots of improvement to go physically, and hopefully my team and I can get that done pre-Pinehurst and going into it. So again, he's acknowledging that he's still not at the proper health of where he would like to be. Arguably, some could say, will he ever be? Because now Tiger, in a lot of ways, he's swimming against the current. So as time kind of heals that wound, right, that he suffered in the car accident, time is also working against him in age. And everything kind of slows down. He is getting older, and it just makes you wonder: will he heal in time?
Yeah,
or will he ever?
Will he ever
right?
get to where he was? I mean, just watching some of the late day golf yesterday, and watching the darts being thrown by Hovland, Xander, Bryson, boom, boom, putt, bird. I'm like, Tiger doesn't do this anymore. I haven't seen this golf from this guy. Why not? You know what I mean? If this guy could park himself at Pinehurst for 30 days and rip through number 2 every day, I still don't think he'll play well there because, like you said, I think he just needs to play competitive golf.
Well, that's what worries me, because where we all find that shred of hope is where we talk about Tiger off the tee. Yeah, said some good stats off the tee.
Yep.
We look at his ball speed because we worry, does he have the strength to, and especially putting the strain on that leg and being able to turn. Mm-hmm. But that's not where we saw Tiger fall apart. Where we saw Tiger fall apart with, multiple double bogeys, etc., was actually around the greens, mistakes made. And this is something that Tiger himself admitted was some of those mistakes made. And I think that, yes, Tiger has, of course, there's no debating this. Tiger has the knowledge, the technical understanding. He's proven it. One of the best short game players and best putters who ever lived.
Right.
He knows the shots he needs to hit, and he can practice those shots, but there's a difference in playing them competitively week in and week out.
Yeah, true.
And I think that that's where the game starts to go a little bit sour when you're not playing. So keeping going, and this is where you sense the resolve in Tiger when he says this, but in one of his post-round press conferences, again, just being pressed and asked, like, where do we go from here? And Tiger said, just keep fighting, keep the pedal on, keep grinding, keep working hard at posting the best score that I can possibly post. That's all I can do. It's going to be a lot, but I'm going to fight until the end. So, of course, he's a competitor. He's going to say that. But what we're here to debate is, what is the end, and what does that end look like?
Right. You mentioned before, did Tiger stick around too long? I think that's the phrase you used. I'm going to ask you this question. Should he have hung it up after the 2019 Masters, 2019 season? But it's hard to answer because, like, when in the game of golf, if you win an event like that, okay, maybe something's working in my game. It's time to keep going. That was my 15th major. Maybe I can get 3 more. I don't think you can truly go out on a high note in golf. You know what I mean? And I think he wants to, but I don't think you can, at least at this, especially at this point.
Right. And it's golf is not, by its nature, as clear cut as some other sports.
Like Tom Brady
football.
going out after Super Bowl.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a high note. I don't want to grind through another season. I'm too old. My body's too old. I'm going to retire here. We operate in a sport that gives lifetime exemptions into majors to a certain point where it makes sense to just, why not go out there and play, right? Like, so Rich Beam playing this week, stuff like that.
Couples approach, sure.
What I'm saying, and what I'm trying to drive at here is, and I'll flash forward to a little bit of my take on this, is that, no, I don't think Tiger should walk away from the game. No, I don't think Tiger should announce a retirement. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
What I think we need to do is pinch ourselves a little bit, wake up and say, let's have a realistic conversation. Stop this consistent narrative, Tiger's in the field, he could win.
Right.
And instead, we'll look at it maybe a little bit more humbly of saying, in a lot of ways, you're honored to still have Tiger in the field, to still get to watch him play. My kids are young, right? They'll be able to watch some of this with me and say that they watched Tiger Woods play. I think that that's the narrative. It's just more so driven of, let's take a step back and be a little more realistic and say a win would be a Cinderella story for the ages.
Right.
Instead, let's maybe take a little bit of the pressure off Tiger. Stop that narrative. He's in the field. He could win. And instead be like, Tiger's in the field. That's great. But share that spotlight with everybody else. Because I think one of the big frustrations a lot of people have is that he's there. He's still getting a lot of the airtime.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think there's a reason for that.
Right.
Let's talk real quick about some of the gripes that we saw pop up. So it was all over Twitter. And you could just type in Tiger's name and you're going to see a million takes in both directions. But some of them that stuck out for me. One guy said, Tiger said many times he would never just hang around if he couldn't compete to win. That's exactly where we've been for 2 years. It's actually quite sad. Even in a golf cart, he wouldn't be able to compete. He's too old and broken. He's officially stayed too long.
Yeah.
So, and this is where, like I said, I think the frustration that's coming from fans is the narrative driven that people continually saying he can win, he can win.
Right.
He's right there. You know what I mean? I think a little bit of a dose of reality of saying, yes, I guess technically anyone could win any week, but he's not in the place, and I don't think Tiger fully believes he's in the place where he could win right now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he knows it. And just harping back on like the other athletes and the other sports. I mean, one of the saddest days I remember for me is when like Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera retired. And it's funny, in those sports, when those guys do retire, they disappear. Imagine Jeter came back for 4 games a year. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work like that. Or like LeBron James retires. He'll be back for 6 or 7 games. I don't know how good he'll be, but at least we'll see LeBron. That'll be cool because it's him.
Right.
This is completely different. I think as fans, as sports fans, like this is a unique sport in this case where we could see this guy till he's 60 at the Masters, like you said, and just keep watching him and be like, that's Tiger Woods, that's Tiger Woods. But to your point, I think he knows that he can't win right now, and that's got to be so frustrating.
And that's what I mean. I think, again, it's all about that narrative. It's not like each week of the Masters rolls around and everybody's hitting Fred Couples will be like, hey, do you think you can win this week? Right. I think I can win.
Right.
It's more so it's understanding where he's at right now, what that place is. Going on, just a couple more of just to give you a general feel of the sentiment that's out there. Another guy said, he's done. It happens to everyone. Father Time and injuries are undefeated. Another one said, love Tiger. He's done. Need to move on here. He's not winning on the PGA Tour again. I'm sorry in advance for being harsh. Have to be realistic here. Hit the Champions Tour. So again, a lot of that and pushing for the Champions Tour. But there's 2 sides of the coin. So another big, Tiger following account, TW Legion said, I still believe in Tiger Woods, and it calls for retirement is an overreaction. The man can still hit golf shots and was top 15 off the tee today. He can continue to play major championships until the end of time. Once he turns 50, he will use senior tour events in a cart as prep for the majors.
Yeah. Listen, a lot of you might not like this phrase, but I don't even think Tiger could compete on the Champions Tour right now. I mean, those guys are good, and when your game is on, you're going to win. And if Tiger's game's not on, you're not going to win. If Tiger went out and played a Champions Tour event this week, I don't think he would win. I would bet that
with
he
or without
would
a cart,
win. Just regular like them, no cart,
no cart.
Just you walk the Cologuard Classic, whatever it is, right? With these older guys in their 60s, and I still think those guys, their game is much sharper than his.
Because they're playing competitively week in and week out?
Correct. And I think that would be a bigger disappointment for Tiger. Like, wow, I'm not even competing out here. Now his legacy is just...
if their game is sharper because they're competing week in and week out, then there's something to be said here of saying that if Tiger did do that...
He's never going to do that, though. I don't think he has the stamina or the ability to ever compete week in and week out anymore, which then probably answers the question of him probably never winning again.
It's a tough look. I mean, here's what I think. I think that Tiger could go out on I think if Tiger went out on the Champions Tour right now, he makes the cut, no doubt.
Okay. Cut, I'd say yes.
And I think he potentially top 10 finish. And I think if he got a couple under his belt, he starts winning them like it was that. Because
if he got a couple,
you got to understand what he's doing. He's competing with the top 20-year-olds, best in the world.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And Valhalla, yeah, I get it. He was tough, but making the cut at the Masters showed something, right?
Right.
It showed to me that his game, for the most part, the physical ability is there. He's out of one thing. He's injured and he's a little bit out of form. I think the 4 rounds of walking was one of the biggest things holding him back there because we saw him grind it out. He gave it everything he had for Thursday and Friday, then he fell apart Saturday and Sunday. And I think it was the physical walking. So you got to separate this out. I think the cart changes things if he was willing to take the cart. I think, again, like going back to what we said earlier, I think he's got the technical ability and knowledge of short game more than anyone else, but he's got to do it week in and week out.
That's just it.
So I think if he was to play a couple Champions Tour events, I think that he would start to get that back.
Yeah.
But I still think he would, if you put him right now, don't forget, we're comparing Tiger to major fields and PGA Tour fields, the absolute cream of the crop. Tiger would be one of the youngest guys on the Champions Tour.
He would be.
Tiger would have probably the most ball speed on all the Champions Tour.
But he might not be in the best shape. He might not be in the best golf shape. That's just it. I don't know. I'm not saying that he would be terrible on the tour. I'm sure he would fare well.
It's a different. I think Tiger is right now, I think, outplaying any of the older guys from the Champions Tour coming and playing in the majors. I think Tiger is ahead of the game over there. What I'm talking about is where he's at on the PGA Tour and major championship fields. That's a different animal than
Yeah,
the Champions
no doubt.
Tour. However, I think it's a good point. You guys weighing in the comments it's a good point to be made that is the Champions Tour the place that he could get his competitive reps in? Is he even able to do that? With or without a car, is Tiger in the shape right now where he can be traveling around playing each week, or is this all a delusion that we shouldn't even pursue? That's the question that I have for you. But before, one thing I want to do in a second, I want to talk about where I do think Tiger could still excel. I still think there is a spot for him that he could stay very relevant and he could play very well. And I think that's lining up perfectly for him timing-wise. But the other thing is, let's just go and hit on this one point one more time because I think it's important. Is Tiger playing in these events ultimately good or bad for the game? And the reason I say that is, and what's driving that narrative that he can win and this wanting the Cinderella story, is it the fact that the hardest ones to get visibility and viewership on are the first two rounds, Thursday and Friday, right?
Yeah, right.
Those are the two that Tiger's going to be in guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
It's pre-cut,
Yep.
right? Is it a certain matter that the broadcast, the streaming, the media are all really hammering this narrative because it's like, if nothing else, will boost viewership for those first two rounds, throw Tiger in a featured group.
Yep.
Hey, Tiger's playing, he's going to be in a featured group. Now there's more eyeballs, there's clearly more people watching.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Versus Tiger takes a back seat, steps out of those, which I don't necessarily agree with because I think that he's earned, based on his play over his career, he's earned the courtesy of having him invited to these majors, at least.
Yeah.
If it was PGA Tour week in and week out, maybe it's a different story. But is he taking a spot in the field, and would someone else move the needle more?
I don't think any player, or at least I don't know this, but I don't think any player would be upset of Tiger taking a spot in the field. I think Tiger still the needle. He's still great for the game. He's still going to help grow the game. He's still going to lift fields, get fans there, increase payouts. The stuff he's been doing for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone who's young and a rookie like, oh,
He brings sponsors. He brings all
that stuff. So I think everyone's praising and hoping that Tiger's in the field for these events.
Yeah. I think where the pivot needs to be, if anything, is, yes, give him his invites into the field, get him in there, but maybe it's just a slight humbling of the narrative of saying, instead of saying, Tiger can win and all that stuff,
Yeah.
if he surprises us all, then awesome.
Right.
We're all, like I said, we're Tiger fans. We want to see that happen. Right. We'd all be very happy with that. But instead, it might just be, this is great, Tiger's in the field, let's cut to Tiger when it's relevant to do so to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. But I know I'm kind of beating a drum that's not going to happen because they're going to cut to him because they know people will watch him no matter how he's playing.
Right. I mean, do you think the narrative changes if he finishes T12 at Pinehurst?
And in what regard? That he could still win?
All right, maybe we were all wrong. I think you still got it. I'm looking forward to the Open now. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good question. Where would Tiger need to finish at the U.S. Open to make us feel like, hey, he could still do this?
Yeah, where would it be? And could it be a win? Does it have to be a win? Is that top 3 enough? Top 10 enough?
I think a top 3
might
or
say
a
making
top
the cut
10
is enough.
I think a top 3 or a top 10 is evidence that he could still do it.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about top 3 or top 10, most likely you're only a handful of shots off the lead, right?
Yeah, right. And
that would
think
be
of the caliber
evidence.
of golfers you're within.
I think the real like more realistic goal we should set is Tiger on the weekend. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I think that is a win for all of us that Tiger makes it to the weekend.
I think now that's it, yeah.
I think where the disappointment is coming in and the upset fans who are taking to Twitter, I think that is because it's being hammered home that Tiger can still win. He can still win. And they're seeing disappointment relative to that goal. I think if we change the goalpost a little bit for Tiger, for where he's at right now. Now, I don't know. I'm not his doctor. I don't know if a miracle could happen that he can start walking on that leg a lot more, whatever. But I think if we set a more realistic goalpost, I think we'll all be a little bit more grateful of where he's at
that's a good
and be
point.
able to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
So let's do a pause there. Let's do a word from our sponsors. Then I want to talk about something, though, that is different. And it is a way that we could see Tiger be competitive and potentially might be the best possible fit for Tiger going forward in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So let's do a word from our sponsors. We'll talk about that.
All right, guys, if you want to improve your golf game, a Titleist fitting experience is the fastest way to better. A certified fitter can help any player at any point in their journey find the right clubs to unlock that next level of play. Custom fittings, they're not just for great players, guys. I mean, they're for anyone who wants to play better. We do fittings quite often. We've done them for years. In fact, just a couple of months ago, we went down to TPC Sugarloaf to get fit for those brand new Vokey SM10 wedges, and the process was so thorough, getting into things like bounce, grind, loft. We were even dialing into the right shafts and grips, the whole part of the club, and it was truly a remarkable golf fitting experience. And I'm glad we documented the whole thing for our YouTube channel because it was a great experience, and we love sharing that stuff with you guys.
And I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest disservice so much of us do is that we rule out a fitting because we just don't think we're good enough yet.
Yeah, right.
And I think where we had that massive benefit is that we got a fitting kind of early on in our golf journey, and we were otherwise we might have talked ourselves out of it. We didn't think we were ready.
No doubt.
And it was getting the experience and seeing it and realizing that it's actually players who are maybe higher handicappers often stand to make the most benefit for a fitting because we're usually the furthest away from having the right clubs for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And
right.
and it's really is a lot of tech in those clubs that can really help you. So I would say if I have one pro tip for you guys and something we've learned from firsthand experience is don't rule yourself out of getting that benefit of a great fitting because you just don't think you're there yet. It's for every golfer.
Yeah, no doubt. We just can't go back now at this point. We've been to so many great ones. So if you want to play your best golf, the first step is simple. Go to Titleist.com and find a Titleist fitter or fitting event near you. Guys, the Titleist fitting experience is the fastest way to better.
And guys, the new FootJoy Pro SLX, they're here. They're shoes that are really engineered with power in mind. And you can kind of see that visibly when you flip the shoe over and you look at that power track system. It's got this innovative, it's a 3D X-Wing. And effectively what it does is, we talk about before about ground and using the ground and ground forces. What it does is as you apply pressure into the ground, it kind of spreads out, giving you even more traction into the ground. And it's something that I think is really learning to think of your footwear as another piece of performance equipment. And when you see a shoe like this, you kind of understand that. So not only does it look really cool, it really helps with all that movement, that lateral, vertical movement, everything you apply into the ground, you're really going to get from the new Pro SLX. So we're absolutely loving them. I think it's a great shoe, whether you walk the golf course, if you don't. I just love the way, for me, it even transitions, even wearing it sometimes in a simulator and on turf.
Sure.
I just love the way that does, especially from the spikeless version. So go and check them out. Go to FootJoy.com. Give that Pro SLX a look for this summer. It's a fantastic shoe. And like I said, when you think of it from performance-based, you'll see how that can really help your game.
All right, guys, have you experienced Golf Zone Social yet? All right, now with 3 New York locations, West Nyack, Scarsdale, now Brooklyn, brand new. So if you're in the New Jersey, New York area, guys, there's no excuses. The Golf Zone technology is the most realistic indoor golf tech out there. I mean, instead of a boring hour on the range, you can go play 9 on a real course in near real ground conditions, and you can have fun doing it. I mean, if you kind of heard of Golf Zone, this might help you. You probably saw the one where the simulator where the floor moves. It simulates the exact lie that you're on. It's so cool. And if you want an excuse to come to a Golf Zone Social, here you go. We'll give you one. We're hosting a tournament there June 22nd. It's a Saturday. It's going to be at their new location in Brooklyn. Come hang out. Even if you don't want to compete, just come hang out. The prizes will be insane. Our merch guy may be coming by with some cool stuff. So, you know, a $3,000 golf simulator, by the way, the Wave is going to go to one of the winners. We're going to have net. We're going to have gross. Just go to golficity.com/register. Secure your spot. Space is going to be super limited. Escape the family or bring them, whatever. Come on down, June 22nd. We'll see you, Golf Zone Social in Brooklyn.
All right. So we mentioned before, I think there is a place that is a fit for Tiger, and I think it was a wise direction for them to start moving. And honestly, I think that that's the TGL. You know,
Yeah.
I
Indoors, no carts, no walking.
think about it for a second. Like, we think about what are the benefits of having Tiger in the field, right? It's the way he engages with other players, right? It's the fact that, and I think some of the best Tiger content, if you want to call it that we're getting now, is his insight, right?
Yep.
When I like as
match,
just
when he
as much
talks.
as, like, you know, of course, watching him play, right, in a major. I like thumbing through social media, and you see those posts that pop up where Tiger will talk through one of his processes, or he's with other players and he's talk. We saw that famous quote with Scotty Scheffler, you know, where he was saying, you know, I don't take divots when I'm flushing it. Now, granted, that was Tiger being Tiger, but what I'm saying is that I think where we as fans and viewers stand to benefit the most is in Tiger in an environment that maybe is a little bit more relaxed, and he's mic'd up, right? So you think about the TGL for a second. Here, it's still going to be competitive golf. It's going to be in prime time,
Yep.
right? Which Tiger
Money
and
to
prime
be
time
won.
goes well together,
Yep.
right? We're taking away Tiger's potentially biggest limitation, which is walking. And we're just getting to see Tiger hit shots, right? Now, it's into a simulator, but it's a different world now. Simulators have come such a long way. We've talked about that before, but now you're talking about something that I think when it launches, I think it's going to blow everyone's minds, because it's not a little tiny screen. They're hitting into an IMAX size screen. This thing's multiple stories tall, right? We're going to see these great graphics, these incredible tracers. We're going to see Tiger hitting shots through different windows. He's going to be on a launch monitor for every single shot. We're going to see his ball speed and the numbers he generates. We're going to see Tiger's swing, right? And then for the short game, they're going to move over to this facility that they're going to play real short game shots. You know,
Is it 50 and in? 50 yards?
50 yards and in. This will not be into a simulator. And if you're unfamiliar with the TGL, this is one reason we've been so hype about it. I can't wait to see this. You're going to have an environment of, it's artificial turf, I'll give you that. But artificial turf has also come a long way. It's going to look and feel a lot like real turf. And it's going to have these actuators underneath it that are going to move and create the shapes of real greens.
Sure.
And we're going to see Tiger play, you know, nippy little chip shots around the green.
Stuff that he's so good at doing.
We're going to, right. But where he's lost the touch recently, like we mentioned before, Tiger is, you know, one of the most prolific, best short games we've ever seen, but we haven't seen it as of late. We saw Valhalla, him struggling in the short game. Got to get the reps in competition. Maybe this becomes the way that Tiger gets some of that competitive reps in.
Yeah,
Tiger's a competitor. He's going to want to win. Him and his team, they're going to want to win, right?
gonna wanna win,
He's
no
going to be
doubt.
out there, and this is going to be whatever it ends up being, 12, 15 weeks of more competition than he's seen before. So it makes me wonder, is this a manner that can supplement the game in a new way, that Tiger can get competitive reps in and potentially get himself a little bit more in form to where he's playing in the majors and he can be more competitive? And on top of that, the lineup of players who are in the TGL and who've committed to it are the cream of the crop.
Sure.
I think they all benefit from, a lot of them are there because they grew up watching Tiger. I think a lot of them can benefit from playing alongside and against Tiger week in and week out at these TGL events where, and now I understand that he won't be playing every week because it's whatever team it is and it's shuffle in and out. But for the ones that he is playing in, people will benefit from playing with Tiger and enhancing the game in that way. So I think that the TGL is kind of a sub-story that a lot of us have been missing, of a way that Tiger can stay competitive. Tiger can pick up wins on the TGL,
He could.
right?
He could taste the win.
And he can stay relevant.
Yeah, he'll definitely stay relevant. And I think people will tune in because of him, no doubt. I think they'll tune in originally because of the concept to see if it works, no doubt. So I think out of the gate, it could be a very big thing. And I think Tiger could do well there. I think Tiger, where he does well is, I mean, again, you'll see him on social media when he's doing stuff at like clinics and just kind of messing around on the range, where he'll drop a ball and he'll hit it and hit another ball just like instantly. Like the weird stuff that he does so well, he does it in those low pressure situations. So where TGL, although it's competitive, there's money on the line, I still think it's going to be way less pressure than a major that we see him at. So you could see him execute those nippy shots because of less pressure and things like that. And you could see him play well there. Will it ultimately transition onto the course? As much as I love indoor simulator golf, I just don't know. I don't know if it will.
Well, that's it. It is no doubt less pressure than a major, but it's also undeniably more pressure than a practice round. And
Yes.
that's where I'm saying, like, this could be something that is a means for Tiger with his limited capability physically, his limited capability to be able to get out there and get some competitive reps in.
Sure.
That will only ultimately stand to benefit him in the majors. I mean, we'll go right back to that quote that I said earlier. Tiger said specifically, I need to play more, right? And yes, practice is a part of that, but competitive golf is a different animal. We've seen the benefit. You got to be playing competitively in order to stay sharp.
Sure.
And this could be a low-hanging fruit means for Tiger to get competitive rounds in. It's basically in his backyard where the venue is going to be in Florida. It's not going to be grueling for him to travel to. He won't have to worry about walking. He'll be walking back and forth in the arena. That's it.
Right.
He's not going to be walking 8 miles.
It's so perfect
Right.
for him.
So I think Tiger will be competitive in that environment, and I think it'll help sharpen his skills a little bit more. Beyond that, all I think that we can all kind of hold out hope for is that, although, as you saw pointed out in that tweet, Father Time and injuries are undefeated, if Tiger can get to a place where physically he can get around the golf course and we could start to see him compete in 10 events a year, just slowly ramping it up.
Yeah.
It's got to be more than 4. And could those events eventually be senior, PGA Tour, we call it senior tour, PGA Tour champions events, maybe. But there's got to be a creative way to kind of get him into getting to play more. But in the meantime, I think all that we can do as fans is remove the delusion.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Be happy, be overjoyed if we do get a win out of Tiger. But I only live so long on this treadmill where you're constantly saying, hey, if Tiger's in the field, that means he can win. And then we're asking that same question and we're putting that pressure. And it's just like, let's be realistic. We're all fortunate that, after that car accident, Tiger's even alive.
Right.
We're even more fortunate that Tiger can walk, has 2 legs, because he almost lost it,
Right.
and that he's here. Let's be fortunate with that. If Tiger play well, so be it.
Such a good point.
But let's be real and say, let's not build this narrative just for viewership.
Yeah, when you break it down like that, and just to say the fact that he's just here, and let alone he missed the cut of Valhalla, but like you said, he has both legs and he's still here. We don't
Yes.
think about that.
Right.
That he still went out and competed, and I even think after round 1, he was in a decent spot. I think he was +1 or something.
And I think so much of this is driven because of the fact that Tiger has done what he's done, which has been shut down the deniers, shut down the haters so many times, has come back from so many things, has come back so many times. You get to a point where you start to believe he can come back from anything.
Sure.
And I think that there's a point which that's going to start to actually put people off because they're going to feel like you're driving a delusional narrative. And I think by cleaning up the narrative a little bit, we do all of us a service.
Yeah.
That being said, let's hope Tiger wins again.
Yeah.
You guys get what we're saying. Anyway, let us know in the comments what you think. What should be our thought process? What should we look for as fans when it comes to Tiger? And what should we expect from him? We want to hear your take. Let's hear it in the comments. We'll see you in the next show.